Chapter 5, Attack on the Bakery. The morning light struggled to penetrate the thick, swirling snow that had blanketed Mary Hollow overnight. Holly Evergreen stood at the window of her bedroom, watching the flakes dance in the wind, each one a reminder of the magical disturbances plaguing the town. With a deep breath, she made a decision. Today, no matter what, she would open the Gingerbread Cottage Bakery. The town needed a sense of normalcy, and Holly was determined to provide it. As she descended the stairs to the bakery kitchen, the comforting sense of cinnamon and nutmeg enveloped her. These familiar aromas, usually a source of joy, now felt like a lifeline to the world she knew, a world that seemed to be unraveling with each passing hour. "You're really opening today?" Jack's voice startled her. He was leaning against the doorframe, his icy blue eyes filled with concern. Holly nodded, tying on her apron with determined movements. "We can't hide away, Jack. The people of Mary Hollow need to see that life goes on, even in the face of whatever this is." Jack's expression softened. "You're right. What can I do to help?" Together, they set about preparing for the day. Holly's hands moved automatically through the familiar routines of mixing dough and heating ovens, while her mind raced with questions about the revelations of the previous night. Jack used his frost powers to create intricate, festive designs on the bakery windows, a cheery facade that belied the tension in the air. As the first customers trickled in, drawn by the warm light and enticing smells, Holly felt a small sense of victory. Elves and humans alike expressed relief at finding the bakery open, eagerly purchasing comfort foods to help them weather the strange events unfolding in their town. "It's good to see you open, Miss Holly," Tinsel Twinkle-Bells said as she purchased a dozen gingerbread cookies. "Gives a body hope, it does." Holly smiled, handing over the carefully wrapped package. "That's the idea, Tinsel. We'll get through this together." As the morning wore on, the bakery filled with chatter and laughter. For a few precious hours, it almost felt like a normal day in Mary Hollow. But Holly couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching, waiting. Her instincts proved correct just before the lunch rush. A hush fell over the bakery as shadows darkened the windows. Holly looked up from the cash register to see her customers staring outside, their faces masks of fear and awe. There, in the middle of Candy Cane Lane, a snowman was forming. But this was no cheerful Frosty. As Holly watched, it grew to monstrous proportions, towering over the gingerbread buildings. Its coal-black eyes gleamed with malevolent intelligence, and its stick arms ended in wickedly sharp icicle fingers. "Everyone, stay calm," Holly called out, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "Move away from the windows, please." No sooner had the words left her mouth than the giant snowman let out a bone-chilling roar. It swung one massive arm, sending a barrage of icicles hurtling towards the bakery. Windows shattered, showering the interior with glass and snow. Customers screamed, diving for cover. "Jack!" Holly shouted, raising her wand. "We need to evacuate." Jack nodded, already moving. With a wave of his hand, he created a thick ice barrier over the broken windows, temporarily sealing the bakery. "That won't hold for long," he warned. Holly turned to the terrified crowd. "Everyone, please stay calm. We're going to get you out of here safely." She pointed to the back of the bakery. "There's a delivery entrance through the kitchen. We'll evacuate through there." As Jack reinforced the ice barriers, Holly began ushering people towards the back. The building shook with each blow from the monstrous snowman, dust and sugar falling from the rafters like snow. In the chaos of the evacuation, a flicker of movement outside caught Holly's eye. Through a small gap in the ice barrier, she glimpsed a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the square. The figure's hands moved in intricate patterns, and with each gesture, the giant snowman seemed to respond. "Someone's controlling it," Holly breathed, her mind racing. Before she could get a better look, another blow from the snowman rocked the bakery, forcing her to turn her attention back to the evacuation. "Holly!" Jack called from the kitchen. "I've got an idea, but I need your help." She rushed to his side, finding him at the back door, which opened onto a small alley. "What's the plan?" "An ice slide," Jack explained quickly. "I can create one down to the end of the alley, but I need you to reinforce it with your magic. It needs to hold up against that thing out there." Holly nodded, understanding immediately. As Jack began to form the slide, his hands moving in fluid motions, Holly raised her wand. She infused the ice with her own magic, layers of protective spells weaving through Jack's creation. The result was a shimmering chute that looked part ice, part gingerbread. "It's ready!" Holly called to the waiting customers. "Everyone, quickly now. Slide down to the end of the alley and run for the town hall. You'll be safe there." One by one, the bakery's patrons escaped down the magical slide. Holly and Jack worked in tandem, him maintaining the structure of the slide while she kept watch for any attacks from the rampaging snowman. As the last customer disappeared down the chute, Holly turned to Jack. "You go too. I need to stop that thing." Jack's eyes widened. "Holly, no. It's too dangerous. We should go together." She shook her head, her expression resolute. "Someone's controlling it, Jack. I saw them. If we both leave, we might lose our chance to find out who's behind this. I can handle the snowman." For a moment, it looked like Jack might argue. Then he nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Be careful," he said, squeezing her hand before sliding down the chute. Taking a deep breath, Holly turned back to face the front of her beloved bakery. The ice barriers were cracking, the monstrous snowman's attacks growing more frenzied. With a wave of her wand, she dispelled the remaining ice, coming face to face with her frosty assailant. The snowman loomed over her, its coal eyes fixing on her with malicious intent. But Holly stood her ground, her wand raised high. "All right, Frosty," she said, her voice ringing with determination. "Let's see how you like a little summer heat." She began to cast, drawing on every warm, sunny memory she had. Golden light erupted from her wand, enveloping the snowman in a cocoon of magical heat. The creature roared, thrashing as it began to melt. As she poured her magic into the spell, Holly scanned the square, looking for the shadowy controller she'd glimpsed earlier. There, at the edge of the whispering woods, a figure in a dark cloak watched the scene unfold. As the snowman continued to melt, the figure raised its hands, clearly attempting to reassert control. Holly gritted her teeth, redoubling her efforts. The air around her shimmered with heat, a stark contrast to the winter wonderland of Merry Hollow. Sweat beaded on her brow as she pushed her magic to its limits. With a final, earth-shaking roar, the monstrous snowman collapsed into a harmless pile of slush. The cloaked figure at the edge of the woods seemed to waver for a moment, then vanished into the trees. Panting, Holly lowered her wand. The square was a mess of slush, icicles, and debris from damaged buildings. Her beloved bakery stood battered but unbowed, a testament to the strength of gingerbread architecture. As she caught her breath, the sound of approaching footsteps filled the air. The citizens of Merry Hollow, led by Jack and Mayor Candy Cane, cautiously entered the square. Their faces were a mix of fear, awe, and relief. Is it over?" Mayor Candy Cane asked, her usually jolly voice quavering. Holly nodded, too exhausted to speak. Jack was at her side in an instant, supporting her as her knees threatened to buckle. "You did it," he said softly, pride evident in his voice. But Holly shook her head. "For now. But this isn't over. Someone was controlling that snowman, Jack. Someone with powerful winter magic." A murmur ran through the gathered crowd at her words. Mayor Candy Cane stepped forward, her face grave. "Miss Evergreen, Mr. Frost, I think it's time you told us exactly what's going on in our